What if your entire online presence is just a con? Not maliciously, not even consciously, just a slightly better lit, better worded, better timed version of you that you've been quietly performing so long you've forgotten which parts are real. You know the LinkedIn post. Someone got laid off, spent 3 months reflecting and growing, and now they're announcing their new role like it was a spiritual journey they chose, complete with a lesson about resilience. 47 people who've never met them liked it. 3 people left comments saying it was so inspiring. None of it is technically a lie. All of it is a performance. Mark Twain was writing about this exact behavior in 1873, before LinkedIn, before Instagram, before the internet gave everyone a stage and an audience and the vague, constant pressure to make their life look like it's going somewhere. He called it the Gilded Age. We just call it Tuesday. Mark Twain is one of those writers everyone claims to love and almost nobody actually reads, which is itself very on brand for what he was writing about, the performance of culture over the actual substance of it. He wrote The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, sure, but his most cutting work was The Gilded Age, co-written in 1873, which is essentially a full autopsy of American self-delusion. The idea that the whole country was glittering on the surface, new money, big promises, endless optimism, while being completely hollow underneath. Sound familiar? It should. We are living in a second Gilded Age, and this time everyone has a ring light. In Huckleberry Finn, Huck and Jim float down the Mississippi and pick up 2 con men. They have no names. They just immediately introduce themselves as the Duke and the King. Royalty, obviously. Neither of them is royalty. They are 2 broke, middle-aged men on a raft who decided to simply announce a better version of themselves and see if anyone believed it. And people do. Town after town. They put on shows. They give speeches. They perform expertise they don't have in front of audiences desperate to believe someone has the answers. They take the money and leave before anyone figures it out. The grift has always been the grift. Twain just had the characters travel by river instead of private jet content. Here's where Twain goes deeper than just individual liars, because the really uncomfortable argument in his work isn't that some people are con men, it's that the entire culture creates the conditions for the con to work. The Duke and the King succeed not because they're geniuses, they succeed because their audiences want to believe. People want a Duke, they want a King, they want someone who has figured something out, who has arrived somewhere worth going, who can offer them a shortcut to meaning or money or status. The con works because the audience is performing too. They're performing sophistication, performing discernment. Nobody wants to be the person who got fooled, so they convince themselves they weren't, even when they were. This is influencer culture down to the molecule. The audience isn't passive. They're co-authors of the mythology. Every like is a vote for the version of events being presented. Every share says, I believe this, and I want to be associated with believing it. Twain called this out in 1873, and everyone nodded along and then went back to performing their own version of it, which is honestly the most Twain outcome possible. I've been reading classics for 5 years now, and every time I open one, I get struck by how timeless these books are. The patterns they saw back then are still playing out today. If you want to see more of these connections, hit subscribe. Here's the thing about Huck. He's a kid, uneducated, poor, raised by a drunk. By every metric the story gives us, he's not the sophisticated one. He shouldn't be the one seeing clearly. But he's the one who notices the con. He watches the Duke and the King work their scam, and he knows, immediately, instinctively, that it's wrong. Not because he has a moral philosophy, because he hasn't learned yet to perform not noticing. The people who get fooled by the Duke and the King are the respectable ones, the ones with something to protect, the ones whose social position depends on not being seen as gullible, so they don't call it out. Calling it out would mean admitting they almost believed it. Better to participate in the fiction. This is every comment section that's clearly being farmed for engagement, but nobody says it because they don't want to seem negative. This is every obviously staged candid photo that gets thousands of likes because calling it staged makes you the cynical one. This is the LinkedIn post about humility written by someone who made sure their company name was in the second sentence. The people who notice are usually the ones with the least to lose by saying so. Huck noticed because he had no reputation to protect. The rest of us have learned to perform not noticing as a social skill. Twain's satire was never mean. That's what people miss about him. He wasn't calling people stupid for getting conned. He was calling out the system that makes the con necessary and inevitable. In a culture that rewards image over substance, performance over depth, the gilded surface over what's underneath, lying isn't a character flaw. It's a rational response. You perform because performance is what gets rewarded. You exaggerate because accuracy doesn't trend. You post the highlight because the full picture doesn't get engagement. Nobody woke up and decided to be fake. The incentive structure got there first. The real Twain question, the one underneath all the satire and the humor and the river metaphors, is, who are you when there's no audience? When the ring light is off? When nobody's watching the story? When the post will never be seen? Because that person exists too. And according to Twain, that's the only one that's actually yours. So, be honest. Is there a version of yourself you perform online that's just slightly too polished to be completely real? Because I think we all know the answer. And I think Twain would find us extremely funny and also kind of sad. Drop your most unhinged Instagram versus reality moment in the comments. And if you want more 19th century writers dragging us for things we invented after they died, like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.